Okay, this is Unit 16. We're in GCSE Maths, and we're looking at proportion. So first of all, direct and inverse proportion. If two values are related to one another, they are said to be proportional. When one value increases, the other increases at the same rate or in the same ratio. The two values are directly proportional to each other. When as one value increases, the other one decreases by the same ratio, the values are inversely proportional to each other. So we just have an example of each here. We have 8 DVDs, which is £45.12. So how much will 15 cost? A couple of different ways of doing this, but I would tend to be working out how much one costs. So how are we going to work out how much one costs? We're going to go £45.12 divided by 8. And that gives us £5.64. So one's going to be £5.64. That means 15's reasonably straightforward. If we know how much one costs, we times it by 15. And that gives us £84.60. So that's regular proportion. Next one's inverse proportion. A party planner has enough canopies for 5 per person if 75 people turn up. How many will there be per person if 125 people turn up? Can you see, so there's the same amount of canopies in total at this party. And so they have 5 if 75 people turn up. But can you see then, as this one gets bigger, as the amount of people get bigger, there's going to be fewer canopies then for each person. So that's what it means then. As one gets bigger, the other one gets smaller. That's what inverse proportion is. So the way I'm going to do this one is simply work out how many canopies we have in total. So we have 5 times by 75. Sort of thing I should be able to do it in my head, really. 5 times 75. That gives me 375. So if there's 125 people, we got to do, sorry, this is the wrong way around, 375 divided by 125, and that's going to give us then 3. So 3 canopies. Alright. On then the variation. Let's take a look first of all at this. To show that two variables are proportional to each other, we write y is proportional to x. In this case, they have x to the power of n. So if two variables are proportional, it's just y is, that wee sign means proportional. It's like a wee fish. Y is proportional to x. Then we can write y equals kx to the power of n. So we follow this wee pattern. You'll see me doing this example, and hopefully that'll then make sense. Where k is a constant, we can use this in to solve problems. The volume V of a spherical balloon varies directly to the cube of its diameter d. Here's what we're saying. We're saying that V is proportional to the cube of its diameter to d cubed. That's going to be our first line in a question like this. We then want to write V equals k d cubed. When the diameter is 8, the volume is 256. So we know 256 equals k multiplied by 8 cubed. And that means 256 equals 8 cubed is 512. And that means k then equals a half. That means we'll have our formula now. So we know that V equals a half d cubed. The idea of this first part of the question, before we even have the A, B and the C, is that so we can get the formula established and work out the k. So we've worked out our k, and we can now use this to work this bit out. So this was actually part A. Find the formula connecting V and D. So here is our formula connecting V and D. So that was part A. Part B, find the volume of a sphere diameter 4. Nice and straightforward really from here. A half d cubed. Volume is then a half times by 4 cubed, which is 64. So volume is then 32 centimeters cubed. Find the diameter of a sphere with volume 450 So we're putting it in the other way around. We know V is a half D cubed. So we know 450 equals a half D cubed. And we know then 900 equals D cubed. So D then is going to be the cube root of 900. And we have then 9.65, the 2 decimal places. Centimetre. So that's regular proportion. As this one gets bigger, this one's going to get bigger. And now the half in there is going to affect things, but as one gets bigger, the other one gets bigger. Example 2, however, if y varies inversely or is inversely proportional to x to the n, we write y is proportional to 1 over x to the n. If you think about it, as x then is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, y actually gets smaller because it's 1 over a bigger number, and that's the way we work that out. And then we get rid of our proportional sign and we go equals to and put the k in. That's the same as k times 1 over x to the n. V is inversely proportional to the square root of r. So we would write V proportional sign, because it's inversely, we do 1 over, and then we would go the square root of r. If V equals 3 when r equals 4, find an equation that links V and r, and find r when V is 8. So our next line then is going to be V equals, we normally go k times 1 over root r, but we're going to write that k over root r. V is 3, r is 4, so that means 3 equals k over, are we happy for me to write 2 there, because it's going to be the square root of 4. That means times both sides by 2, we're going to get k is 6. So we now have our formula, V equals 6 over root r. Find r when V equals 8. Let me see. So we are going to 8 equals 6 over root r. This is one of these awkward ones where the thing we're looking for is on the bottom. So if you want the 2 steps, it would be the times by root r, which give me 8 root r equals 6, and then divide by 8. But it's going to give me root r equals 6 over 8, which if you want then is 3/4. R then is going to be, oh, you need to square it, we need to square both sides, so that's then going to give me 9 over 16. And so final answer then, r equals 9 over 16.